Hey everyone. Well, I spent some time in my last video talking about this cipher harmonic idea, but there were enough interesting concepts here I thought it deserved a dedicated video that was a little more concise and maybe touch on one or two more ideas. So the idea being a rally up into the all-time highs, 79, 80K region, and then rejecting down to the 47K region before ultimately ending in a big rally to the upside. This is considered a bullish harmonic with us putting in our C leg. I shared this back down here, just being wary of the idea because of this clean bounce off the 50% fib here. So definitely worth watching. But we're going to clear the cipher harmonic here, and we're going to talk about a couple concepts, and then we're going to build on the idea, understanding that surprisingly, and this is what I covered in my last video, this is almost identical price action to our 2021 all-time high. Maybe a little tricky to spot. And I guess for anyone who didn't watch the last video, I can quickly review the elements of this fractal, and we're going to talk about a couple concepts. Which is, we put in our first all-time high. We have the initial rejection. I mean, this is essentially identical price action. We come take the lows. We have the rally, the range, ultimately bouncing off the 382. In this case, this would be analogous to coming in and taking these lows into the 618. So certainly something to watch. But for the broader idea, come back, retest the highs of the range, impulse up, and then have the big rejection, in this case down taking these lows. And we can just see this aligns so well with this cipher idea. So certainly worth keeping an eye on. That's what I covered in the last video at the end. But let's turn off this fractal for a second. So there's a comment that I see often, and or a sentiment, which is that price has failed to break into all-time highs so many times that clearly it's time to disregard the idea of taking all-time highs. And I want to make this so clear. I am not claiming that we will take all-time highs. We certainly could break down here. It's not hard to imagine. I mean, this could get weak pretty quick. Certainly a region of support, and definitely there are variations where we come in and wick this low for a spring, and that would actually be more in line with the fractal in this case. So something to consider, but the broad idea is here. But is that based on, what's that based on? This idea that because we've rejected so many times that we're probably not going to take the all-time high? Is it data driven? And that's one of the elements of TA that can be frustrating. Is if I have an idea, I might spend a lot of time thinking about it. I might build a good case for it, and then the idea just doesn't work, and that's perfectly possible here. It's more about whether or not the idea is reasonable. But we just looked at the 2021 case. It's literally identical price action, and we did come up and take the all-time high. I mean, how many times has price been in a situation where we've made an all-time high after a big bullish rally and then consolidated sideways only to end up making a new high? Not very many times, and one of the times that we did, it's identical price action resolving in us taking the high. So is it so crazy to think that this type of price action is at least reasonable to consider? And the other thing is, if we flip this chart upside down, well, we actually have the exact same idea in inverse, right? Which is, we have a low, we fail to take it with a lower high, fail to take it again, we come ping off the middle of the range, we take it and then reject. That would be the same general idea here, which is we put in a low, the chart's flipped upside down, we fail to take it, bounce off the middle of the range, and then we take it. And then we reject. I mean, it's almost identical in spirit. Obviously, the price action is not identical, but the general structure and levels are the same. And the idea of, well, clearly we're not going to take it, applying it here could be a mistake. So anyways, I thought this was interesting because it's not hard to imagine the dynamics that would be at play here if something like this fractal played out. And I would certainly be wary of this fractal idea. My current primary thesis would be to come up and take the high, take these lows for the bullish case. But the more and more I look at the cipher, the more and more I want to be considering signs of weakness here for that move down to 47K. And then I think this is just an absolute banger of a trade in terms of the risk reward for another big leg up. So cipher target D 47K would require us, for the cipher to be valid, to come up and put this C leg in. So we'll see if that happens, but that's the case for it. And like I said, just want to make a more concise, dedicated video on this cipher harmonic.